The first hammer blow. A sickening crack-thwack of wood splintering. Ripped me from a rare moment of peace. It was the third time in as many weeks. And the sound had become a familiar, soul-shattering symphony of my personal hell. I sprinted to the window. Heart hammering against my ribs. And there she was again. The self-appointed queen of our cul-de-sac. HOA Karen. Her face flushed with a crimson, self-righteous rage as she mercilessly pounded on my mailbox post with a claw hammer. The splintered remains of my former mailbox lay in a pathetic heap at her feet. A monument to her unbridled fury. "You can't do this." I wanted to scream. But the words died in my throat, replaced by a suffocating wave of powerlessness. What could I do? The first 2 times, I had called the police. They'd come. They'd talked. They'd filed a report. And nothing had changed. The HOA board, a spineless council of her sycophants, had sided with her, citing some ridiculous aesthetic noncompliance clause. They claimed my hand-painted mailbox with its whimsical little dragon was a blight on the neighborhood's visual harmony. A blight. The only blight was the woman smashing it. How did a simple piece of mailbox would come to represent so much? Why was she so dedicated to this pointless act of destruction? My hands trembled as I watched her. The raw, unfiltered fury she directed at me. At my property. At my very existence in her pristine, orderly world. She was a hurricane of pettiness and privilege. And I was just a leaf in the wind. This time, as the final piece of the mailbox post gave way with a mournful groan, I didn't feel rage. I felt a cold, deep, and dangerous calm. This wasn't about a mailbox anymore. It was about principle. It was about fighting back. I spent the next 3 days in a feverish state of research. I scoured forums, consulted with lawyers I couldn't afford, and read up on every property law, every municipal code I could find. It was a descent into a legal rabbit hole, but a necessary one. That's when I stumbled upon a single, obscure legal precedent that would change everything. The key wasn't to make the mailbox unbreakable. The key was to make it valuable. To make it something more than just a box for letters. I found a company that specialized in high security, bomb-proof mailboxes for rural properties. They were overkill. But the design was perfect. It was a black, sleek monolith of reinforced steel, anchored to the ground with a concrete base so deep it could withstand a small earthquake. But the real genius was a little known, almost forgotten clause about personal property protection. The law stated that if an object of significant personal, sentimental value was attached to your property, destroying it could elevate the crime from simple vandalism to malicious destruction of private property. So, I did it. On the side of the new steel Titan, I had a custom brass plaque professionally engraved with the inscription, "This mailbox was a tribute to my late father. A.U.S. postal worker, who believed in the sanctity of the mail." It was a lie. Of course. A calculated, necessary lie. But it was a perfectly legal one. It was my secret weapon. The moment I saw her car pull up, a sleek black SUV, I felt my heart lurch. There she was. Karen. She stepped out. A fresh snarl on her face. The familiar hammer in her hand. She strode toward the new mailbox with a determined, almost maniacal gait. I held my breath, my knuckles white as I gripped the phone, ready to dial 911. "Please. Please just hit it. I whispered under my breath. She raised the hammer high. A silent scream of fury on her lips. And brought it down with all her might. Bang. The sound was a loud, metallic clang that reverberated through the quiet street. A sharp contrast to the soft thwack of wood. The hammer head bounced off the reinforced steel. She stumbled back. A look of pure, dumbfounded shock on her face. Her eyes darted from the unblemished mailbox to the hammer still rattling in her hand. Then she noticed the plaque. Her eyes narrowed as she read the inscription. A wicked smile slowly spread across her face. Oh. She didn't care about my fake dead father. She was just excited about the challenge. She raised the hammer again. This time with a primal, frustrated shriek. But before she could strike, the sound of a siren cut through the air. My phone, which had been linked to a silent alarm system I had also installed, had done its job. The flashing red and blue lights of the police cruiser pulled up behind her SUV. Officer Miller, a seasoned veteran with a perpetually tired look, stepped out of the patrol car. He recognized her instantly, a weary sigh escaping his lips. Mrs. Albright, he said, his voice flat. We meet again. Karen. Her facade of suburban royalty momentarily shattered. Spun around. The hammer still in her hand. Officer. This is a disgrace. He's a menace. That mailbox. It's so ugly. And he's mocking me. She shrieked, pointing a trembling finger at me. I just stood on my porch, silent, my arms crossed. Officer Miller's gaze shifted to me, then to the unblemished mailbox. Ma'am, he said. Put the hammer down. She ignored him, her chest heaving. This man is a menace to this entire neighborhood. He deserves it. He deserves to have his ugly little eyesore of a mailbox smashed to bits. Ma'am. The mailbox isn't the problem, Officer Miller stated. His voice now a low, rumbling authority. The problem is that you are actively destroying someone else's private property. Karen laughed. A shrill, hysterical sound. It's just a mailbox. It's a wooden box. He could get another one. Oh. How I had waited for that moment. Officer Miller's eyes met mine. A small, knowing glint in them. Actually, Mrs. Albright, he said. It's not just a wooden box anymore. He walked over to the mailbox and pointed a gloved finger at the plaque. This mailbox, as per the legal documentation we have here, is registered as a commemorative tribute to Mr. Carter's late father. This, ma'am, is not simple vandalism. This is the malicious destruction of an object of significant sentimental value. And that, Mrs. Albright, is a felony. The words hung in the air. A bell tolling for her reign of terror. The color drained from her face. Her jaw went slack. The hammer slipped from her hand and clattered to the ground with a final, pathetic clang. She was a statue of shock. A queen dethroned by a simple, clever act of defiance. The police officer, for the first time, almost smiled. You have the right to remain silent, he began. And the sound of his familiar words was the sweetest melody I'd ever heard. The silence that followed was deafening. broken only by the chirping of crickets and the distant siren of another patrol car. Karen was escorted away. Her head held low. Her usual strut replaced by a shuffling, defeated walk. The other neighbors, who had watched from behind their curtains, began to emerge. A few with tentative smiles. A few with outright grins. They had been victims of her petty tyranny for years. I didn't feel triumphant. Not really. The victory was a quiet one. A sense of relief that the torment had finally ended. It was a testament to the power of fighting back. Not with anger, but with cleverness and a little bit of law. The world felt a little bit more just. A little bit more sane. It wasn't about winning. It was about standing up for yourself when no one else would. Now, after all of this, I wonder, was what I did right? Was it justice? Or was it a revenge served cold? It was a legal trap. But was it a moral one? I'm not entirely sure. What do you think?